Hi, my name's Val. I don't do this with every interview I go on. Take you inside my home. I don't, but I'm going to.
My name is Val Kilmer. I'm an actor. I've lived a magical life, and I've captured quite a bit of it.
Push the button!
I was the first guy I knew to own a video camera.
Here we are, filming ourselves. Is that a video camera?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool, Val.
I have thousands of hours of videotapes and film reels that I've shot throughout my life and career.
Shut the video camera off.
I will keep it on until we're rehearsing.
Oh, damn!
I was recently diagnosed with throat cancer. I'm still recovering, and it is difficult to talk and to be understood. But I want to tell my story more than ever.
I spent decades finding my voice
I was a perfectly normal person.
through characters,
I gave you about 4 takes with some different voices.
through movies.
One of the things they buy for all that money, your life for a period of time.
I have behaved poorly.
More wine! More drunk! More women!
I have behaved bravely. Bizarrely to some.
How do you heal a broken heart?
I see myself as a sensitive, intelligent human being, but with the soul of a clown.
I try to hear the world. I don't want to pay the life.
It's a story about my life that is also not my life.
It's really nice to meet you guys. You're both editors, correctly? You both come from an editing background?
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, this seemed like, I mean, the sheer, it's like the perfect project for then editors, although I just talk about a little bit as we start off here, that the amount of archive, because I know that's got to come up all the time in the conversations, but Val Kilmer seemed to, if not obsessively, he diligently shot almost his entire life, or it was shot by somebody else, like a brother or something. So there's just a huge amount of archive, right? And that was in his storage. Talk about that experience and then how you dealt with that.
Well, we had about, I think probably 800 hours from Val, which consisted of film reels, like every format imaginable, throughout time. and then we between what we shot and what we sourced ourselves was probably another additional 200 hours.
Oh, right, because of course, right, there's.
But yeah, I mean,
right, of course.
it was just like, it was like a trip through technological history, really, and the evolution of like the home recording. And we had to source ways to digitize some of it. We eBay old cameras just to be able to play.
Yeah, how did you get into a little bit more, just out of my curiosity, Leo or the Pink, like how, what equipment wise, how you managed with all these different formats, for instance. Yeah,
it is actually really difficult, you know, because I mean, firstly, I'll say, to add to what Ting just said, like Val was always at the forefront of technology, so he was the first one to get whichever camera,
Yeah.
There's there must have been not just 1,000 hours of stuff altogether, but ranging over whatever 25 different formats or more. And
that many?
Probably, yeah, because technology changes quite a lot, and we're talking about audio tapes, CDs, as well as, and all the different versions of film, 8, 16, 35. Super 16. So there's a lot of different formats, and it is actually very difficult because a lot of these old formats are defunct. So we'd have to source old 3/4 inch.
We had to buy a high 8 camera. We had to,
Right.
Oh, and then a lot of these decks are out of commission, so you'd buy one and then it wouldn't work, so you'd have to find another one. And
was this a lot of time on eBay and social media?
Yeah.
Just sort of like kind of,
Basically, yeah.
my God, right? That's it. Yeah. I mean, so was this all like in a storage room, or I mean, at the beginning, I think we see it, but because he kind of walks you through there, right, Val? And so you
Yeah,
had to buy equipment or borrow.
yeah. I mean, he was keeping it in storage, but it was like this. First started digitizing this stuff, back in 2015. And he
Right.
had it delivered to his place, a lot of it, and then over the course of like 9 months, digitizing just single boxes at a time. But a single box could take over a month, because there could be so many things inside. It was a huge process. But it was he was kind of really wanting to get it into digital format before these things withered away.
Sure. And because as he was going through his life and he was shooting it, he may not have even been able to sort of keep his mind wrapped around, well, how am I going to play all this back one day? Or how are people in the future? Because I'm making it for something. Or maybe it wasn't about that. Maybe it was just about the moment, being in the moment for him. Did you have a conversation with him about that?
Well, there was within the archive, as we mentioned in the film, there are like a lot of other films he's been making. It's not just him just filming his own experiences. There's obviously,
Okay.
and there's family videos and records of our kids which we all make now, but he was doing them, on camera, home recordings of them. But there's lots of documentaries he's making during Top Gun. After Top Gun, he made an anti-nuclear film on 16 millimeter. He toured over the world with a small crew, and then during Red Planet, he was making an environmental movie.
Right.
And there's probably
Amazing.
200 tapes on that film alone. And so that it wasn't just like his own kind of.
I understand, but I wasn't sure if he was giving thought to like how one would deal with this enormous task of actually like dealing with like you guys ultimately did do. And part of me, by the way, guys, for focusing on the tech side of this, but it is so impressive because the story, I want to let people know, and I'm sure in my conversation with the offspring that I will get in more into the emotional side of this story, but it is a very powerful emotional story of a man who's a committed artist and father, and that's all that, and he's such an authentic living. It means so much to him to live authentically, and right, and that comes through in this. But I was really just like really curious about workflow.
Yeah, it's nice for us actually to talk about this aspect,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
it's a big part of
Yeah.
it's not something that everyone's so specifically interested in. It is a story in itself.
So as you must have had some days where you just sort of had to say, let's get some pot because because I'm just so stressed out by all of this so how did you approach the a box? Were you just thinking as you're going? Okay, let me get out of my own way here for a second. Let me pose this as a question. Did you guys have a story in mind going into this, or did you say let this content tell the story?
It was more, I would say, let the content tell the story. I mean, we knew we wanted to give like tell the scope of his life and his trajectory as an actor and an artist.
Right.
But I know what you're saying. It would be intermittent. So as a lot of the stuff when I started was already like digitized. And so
Okay.
but there probably about a third of it we were still going through. And so you just start by watching basically and organizing in some kind of chronological order. But like eventually you have to start sketching. And so when we'd come across something that felt like a seminal moment or something that like this is definitely like a scene that needs to be in there. And what we would just do a sketch of that scene. And so it was more like molding little scenes of clay you know, before actually refining. Um, I don't know if that helps.
Totally. Thank you, Ting. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, all this is terrific. And your advantage, I mean, you know, a lot of people use archive and their subject has passed on or has died. And you have the great advantage of somebody who can actually, you can get some guidance for, because I'm sure he also had his input, right? What was his
Exactly.
input
I mean,
in this?
that was the fantastic part about it, is because we could make these sketches and then show them to him.
Yes.
And then get his you know, telling of that experience, and that his, you know, words behind what was happening there, and kind of draw from, you know, we draw from, you know, the stories he would tell us off the things that we would show him. So there was a lot of back and forth, and we're lucky to have that.
How much was Val involved in, you know, this stage of editing, making the film, really telling the story, a part of making the film? So we know that you had all this archive and you sort of sketched or molded, as you said, the into a realized story. Was he, or did you like show him the final cut, or, you know, did he go to the first festival, right? How did that,
Well,
and what did he make of it?
well, we went to him with a, you know, with this idea, and our approach was, we wanted to do something that felt very subjective, and it was sort of in the first person.
Uh-huh.
We made a little 3-minute sizzle to show what it could look like, how it could feel on a very shorter time length, and took that to Val, and he really got it, really enjoyed it, he really understood it. And then, you know, because of the nature of it, it was going to require his involvement, because we are putting the story in the first person. We wanted his involvement, so he was great at giving
Clearly,
us
right.
time so he could help take us through sequences and give his point of view on things, as Ting just mentioned. So we really wanted that involvement. And, you know, it was a kind of case of, he would, you know, because we were filming as well in the present day, so we always treated the film, the headquarters of the film was more in the edit room, and for the current day photography, we were finding what would be helpful to weave into sequences we're building from the archival. So it was always built out from a timeline. And Val would come into the edit, and he would have, you know, he would have contributions and
Sure.
and, you know, fun ideas, and, you know, so it was very much a collaboration and a journey into his past and working with him in the present.
But he really did give us freedom to explore. Like, there was really nothing that was off limits, and we really could just, you know, cut any kind of scene we wanted and sort of give our take on it and present it to him, and be like, is this true to your experience? And that's what we really tried to stick to as sort of our North Star, is like, are we reflecting these scenes in a way that's true to how you experience them?
Well, again, this is the name of the film is called VAL, the documentary. It's directed by Leo Scott and Ting Poo. And I want to emphasize again that it's really for anybody who thinks they know Val Kilmer, or has some idea of who this person is, and it's gonna be a great experience to watch, because it'll definitely shake you up some way, shake up your notions or your preconceptions. Was there a Val Kilmer that emerged through the process of making the film that you kind of discovered that you know was different than, or just was sort of juxtaposed against the actual guy? Or I don't know, that's kind of a pithy question, right? I just guess I wondered if there was something, or maybe is there something like you were getting from this guy that maybe you introduced to Val, that maybe he wasn't as self-aware, or something you wanted to challenge him with, anything like that? Is that,
Well,
I'm not really asking the
well,
question very well.
I remember first meeting Val, whatever, nearly 10 years ago, and I had a preconceived idea who he would be, and so
what was that? What was that, if I can ask you?
I kind of thought he would be an aggregate of some of the characters I'd seen, because I hadn't seen so many interviews, and I thought he could be sort of a bit of the coolness of Iceman type feeling, you know. But I also was like, my favorite film. I did love Tombstone as well, and I kind of pictured. I didn't realize what an artist he was. I really had no idea how creative he was, how spiritual, and I also didn't know how damn funny he is as well. It was hilarious human, and so I you know, as getting to know him and work with him, I got to understand him more and more. And you know, when you look also back through his life in video, you get to understand the life he's had and how that's played into who he is.
Yeah, you said it brilliantly right then. He even, and the lack of self-consciousness in the current footage that you took during real time, you know, like of him, and you know, obviously he was this young, beautiful, perfect looking guy, you know. I mean, he was stunning, and he you know, and now he's struggling you know, he's gone through this huge health crisis with throat cancer, and then, you know, has the tracheostomy, and he's speaking through, I mean, it's not, but he doesn't seem to apologize for any of that. It's a great portrayal of the guy, you know.
Yeah, I mean, he's, I mean, I think that's the thing that surprised me the most. You know, I was pretty intimidated the first time I met him, and I was just really just taken aback by how open and immediately loving he is when he meets somebody. He's genuinely present with
His heart.
you. Yeah, like he was, he'll walk into the room and he's in the room, like with you. Like it's not, there's no separation or real defense
I understand.
that you would expect from a celebrity of his caliber. So I mean, that for me was the biggest part, is kind of seeing the same person that was being revealed through all this footage, like an incredibly loving father, an incredibly like creatively alive person, in the footage and in the room with me as well. So
yeah,
you know,
agreed.
yeah.
Thank you. I think we're running out of time. I apologize, but thank you guys so much, and good luck with this documentary. I want a lot of people to see it. So thank you so much. It was great meeting you both.
Nice meeting
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Adam. Nice to meet you guys.
Hello, Adam.
Nice to meet you.
This has got to be a little kooky for you guys doing this, right?
Yeah.
I imagine this topic is slightly close to your hearts. I don't know. It's just a guess on my part.
Absolutely.
Were you aware about the sheer amount of the sheer volume of video and film that your dad had shot was shooting over the course of his life, career?
Yes.
Yes.
We were very aware.
But
we
I
were
was not
the subject of all of this footage. So we've always, I used to just run away from him when I was a kid all the time.
Right. And if you've watched the movie, there's this gap in our teenage years where there isn't much footage.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And after we emerged from our teenage years, I was really shocked to actually see all the footage in, you know, VHS tapes and film canisters, and it was all consolidated into one vault in some crummy studio in Culver City.
But even going back, I mean, you know, his childhood, right, and home movies to like shooting on the sets of all the films, and you know, high school. I mean, it's really remarkable. Right?
A lot of that I hadn't seen a lot of his stuff from the 60s.
How
was so cool to see for me.
So cool. And by the way, there's so much more. Like,
there's so much. There's gonna be there's
boxes that you haven't opened yet that we don't know. There's mystery boxes.
Mystery boxes. Let's open them now. Cool.
In the film, there's 200 different types of video footage in the movie.
If you buy tickets tomorrow night, we will send you a box of just footage that you can
That's to
open.
the
That's the
general
party
audience.
thing.
Yeah.
I've seen it, of course. I watched it. I would never do this without having. I would know. I was very moved. In fact, I just came out of a conversation with Leo and Ting, and I kind of focused on the workflow part of it because it's fascinating to me. There's like, but I mean, the advantage they had, of course, his dad is still alive and well, so he could participate in the whole process with them. If somebody, a lot of people get. Go ahead, Mercedes. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say it's pretty extraordinary that, and I really mean this, that like I've never heard of a documentary like this where filmmakers have had access to such a full archive. My dad's such a psycho, always since the 60s had like the newest technology. He's always been so interested like in making movies in every way, not just being in them, which I don't think a lot of people know about him. And
maybe
it's really unprecedented to have access to the archive, such a robust archive of a public figure, then to have such a great working relationship with them too, and to have full permission to use everything. And then to happen to have to follow my dad through this really pivotal shift in his career with a diagnosis of when he got diagnosed with cancer, to watch, to be still rolling through that and to capture all of that on film. And it's really like, I keep saying this, but I'll say it again. Like, I think for any great film, there has to be like the talent and technique of the filmmakers and everything. And then there's all that magic that you can't make happen, where you just have to be there to capture what is happening in real life. And they had all of those things like with this. So it's pretty extraordinary that what technically they were able to accomplish as well, and that they had access to it.
If I can go over a little sensitive part of his story, Dad's story. Obviously, you're there. You're old enough to appreciate and to be supportive and there for your dad during his health crisis, which was throat cancer, and his recovery. But going back to the big loss that he had as a child, where his brother died, which obviously was perhaps the most impactful experience in his life, up to maybe your births. And I'm just, did you have quite the insight? How much did you guys, had you seen that, first of all, those home movies yet? Were those already available? Because
we hadn't seen those. We had some, relics from the 70s of like his clothes or a few photographs, but yeah, it was extremely devastating for my dad and his family, and I think really a big part of will be a part of him that always be
stuck there,
and
but
really,
my question to you though, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but just I don't want to interrupt you, but just my question, I guess, is did it open the window to some degree even further? Did you learn about Dad through?
No, I think we grew up with a lot of our Uncle Wesley's are around.
Okay.
We watched like a lot of those films that they were filmed, like The Great Race. They're doing like recreations of scenes from that movie, and a lot of those movies like we watched too. So we had, I think, my dad really like always did want us to kind of understand that part of his life, and I definitely grew up feeling like a palpable, like that his brother did have a presence in my life, although we never got to meet him.
And Wesley is really the key to this movie and to my dad psyche in a lot of ways, because even though Wesley was his younger brother, he really looked up to Wesley, because Wesley was the filmmaker and the actor and the performer and the artist. He was very talented at drawing, and my dad, that's all those things I just listed are like my dad's life mission to be good at.
Right.
So I think all he's been trying to do his whole life is just live up to the talent that his brother had, really.
Or maybe, far be it for me to guess, play therapist here, but maybe to continue it.
Yeah.
And to.
To honor that, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think
really
the film does a really good job of that.
Yeah.
He does, like, still to this day, he's like, if he sees something he likes, he thinks, oh, Wesley would probably like that. And but yeah, you kind of build this person in your mind of who he must have been, and just see.
That's what the movie
seeing the
is
footage,
about.
yeah.
Like, is about memory and trying this like almost fight against loss with documentation. And I think also memoriam and how like that's why I think it's even for people that are not really familiar with our dad's work and whatever, I think it's really like universally speaks to people because we're all engaged with this kind of race against time, or this documenting all of our lives on Instagram and everything. And I think it's like a really, really relevant to the times right now. And it is also just like such a good story about family and about.
And yeah, it's a great American story, about family. It is.
I agree with you. And did you know your grandfather, by the way? Did you know him?
We never met Gene. No.
Okay.
We never met our grandfather.
A little. I think I'm trying to remember how old I was when he passed.
You might have met him, Mercedes. Yeah.
I did, but I didn't have a relationship with him. But yeah, he died when we were really young, or when I was really young. So we didn't get to know him.
What did you think of the final product, by the way?
The film?
The finished film, VAL. It's called VAL, by the way, and it's currently in some select theaters, and it's going to be on Amazon
Prime.
It's called Amazon. I'm not familiar with it, but I've heard of it. Yeah. As of August 6th. We're just putting that out there. So, but go ahead. What did you think of the finished film?
You
loved it.
I don't know. It was okay.
It's all right.
No, it was amazing. I would give it, 5 out of 5 bags of popcorn.
Nice.
Throw a few Pepsis in there, large Pepsis, and
butter the popcorn.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And put some butter on the popcorn too. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
The film, I have to say, the film is extraordinary. I am such a private person. I'm very protective of my family. And as you will see in the movie on August 6th, streaming on Amazon Prime, you will see that, when my dad, the height of his fame was really like the climax of the power of the print media, the beginning of the internet. It was the most vicious time for paparazzi in history. Like actors, celebrities will never have so much more agency now. Like that was a really rough time that my dad lived through, this really insane fame and being photographed and stuff. So I've always really shied away from all of that stuff. And it's always been the nightmare of my life to have something like this made. And then it turned out, as soon as we met Leo, like all of those fears of like everything, of all of our private footage being public, like became the absolute opposite. And I couldn't be more proud to share this with people. I think it's such a beautiful, incredible movie. And just on a personal level, it was so powerful to see our dad, who's often been like misunderstood in the media, to see such a comprehensive and loving and accurate, for the first time, portrait of him has been extraordinary. Yeah,
it's true. I mean, I try not to be judgy, but we all do kind of buy into the media message on some level. It's hard not to. And he was difficult, and this what you saw is such a level of, well, first of all, such a committed father, first and foremost, and brother, and then artist, and it's like the big problem, as far as I could tell, was how do you take the Hollywood career and fit it into your authentic commitment to art making? That's
totally
a challenge, because that doesn't respect the other.
Yeah,
there's a clash there. Yet your dad managed, for the most part, to honor that. I mean, that's
well, he's always been a real serious, like intellectual actor, but he's also always had a real love. He's from Chatsworth. He's from the Valley. Like he's always had a real love for entertainment and Hollywood movies, and of movies, like of the people. Like he's really trained in Juilliard, and he could have done like this kind of elitist more academic acting, but he's really loves like actually bringing genuine entertainment to like the masses. But it's been like quite hard to reconcile for him, I think. And I think the audience.
And then he goes into his Mark Twain one-man show, by the way, which is, again, that seems, to kind of, it makes sense. I mean, this in terms of his approach or his values, that the Mark Twain thing, which is a one-man play, makes more sense. But you're right. I think I can understand also he wants to connect to the mass audience. Yeah.
And Twain did that. Twain was the first proper stand-up comic.
It's a good point. Yes, that's right. He he just didn't have the same resources that Dad had. Yeah, your dad had. Yeah. I'm sorry. I have a son, so I'm very. I really connected with him as a father, and that I really appreciated that. And both of your participation, Jack, obviously you lent your very voice to the film, or you played your father in voice work in the movie. It was a great choice to go that direction. I see we're being chased off in a moment, but bravo to you both for participating in what might have been a very, I'm sure it wasn't entirely without its moments, but it's well done. What can I tell you,
Adam?
Yeah,
thanks.
Thank you.
All right, so good luck with the rest of your press work there. And are you going to show? Did you guys go to any screenings, or did you?
Oh, we're going tomorrow. I mean, yeah, tomorrow night at the DGA is the premiere in LA. Yeah.
Oh, very good.
But we went to Cannes. We just saw it in Cannes, which is extraordinary.
Yeah, it was that's incredible. I wish I could have been there myself. Well, wasn't invited. All right. Well, nice meeting you both.
So nice to talk to you.
Same. Take care.